Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Leverage Point's Chairman and CEO, Peyton Marshall. Since 1985, Peyton Marshall has been active from all sides of the C-suite. For 12 years, he was an investment banker, most of the time at Goldman Sachs, structuring and selling complex and innovative financial solutions to global corporate and financial institution CFOs. Since 1997, he has been on a receiving end of all kinds of sales approaches as CFO of 3 public biotech companies, CEO of 1 public biotech company, and COO of a private drug discovery company. He has been CEO and chairman of a private cloud software company since 2012. So with that, Peyton, welcome.
Thanks, Taylor, and thanks everyone for joining. We've all seen the movie, an innovative B2B product or solution with high strategic impact on customers, long and complex sales cycle, fade to an unresponsive target account, an account where calling has been at a middle manager level for 2 years, who listens politely and doesn't do anything. Long sequences of no action. But then the background music gets more energetic. Star rep calls on CEO. Finally, some organizational urgency. Big deal closes, and management connects the dots. The CEO sales story becomes a best practice, a basis for hiring. Is this a rep who can call on the C-suite? A sales strategy, or even if the movie is a musical, a jingle. Things go better with Coca-Cola. Sales go better with C-suite sponsors. If you thought this was a Peyton Manning webinar, our apologies. Not all Peytons are created equal, athletically, economically, or musically. Selling to the C-suite is a significant sales challenge. It's easy to say, hard to do, and even harder to scale. The degree of difficulty rises for innovative, impactful B2B solutions. Large deals, complex products, multiple customer stakeholders who need to build a consensus, the need for technical expertise at important meetings, and the need for the customer to understand and communicate what's gone on at other customers. How do you get through customer successes and experiences? Sales is a team sport. It's not just solo reps. Others have to be involved to handle the complexity and make the solution work. Whether they're called pre-sales, technical sales, sales engineers, and of course you also have product managers who are customer facing and subject matter experts. That means in planning for C-suite meetings, sales teams need to be smart and coordinated. But also they need to be ready for unplanned opportunities, meeting drop-ins by the C-suite and other accidental or deliberate encounters in the right places. Let's begin with the target. Understand the C-suite and think about who you're calling on. We all start with stereotypes. But every personality in the C-suite is different. And those differences mean that sales has to do its homework. They need to understand who they're talking to, what the background and experience of that person is, try to think about what messages will resonate, and try and understand their audience. Yet despite individual differences, there are similarities across C-suites. There are some behaviors that are habit forming, and some mindsets that appear over and over across C-suites in different companies. Results focused. Never enough time for anybody in the C-suite. C-level executives sit at the head of the table. They're used to being asked the tough questions on bottom line by the street and by their board. They're always looking to make decisions, but often those decisions are about designing a process and delegating. They don't have the time to figure out whether something's going to work on their own. So they turn it over to their people. And C-suite executives often have random but widespread reading habits. They have conversations with many different people. So you never know what the last book they've read, the last blog they've thought about, or what's on their mind right now. All of which means you can expect the regular use of seemingly random questions. As a CEO, the biggest employee complaint I get is that I don't give employees enough warning. I ask too many unanticipated questions. I put my team off balance. And I'll tell you, they don't like it. To me, it's just an acquired habit I couldn't break if I wanted to. And I don't really want to because it helps me figure out who's done their homework and who understands what. That randomness is something that sales teams have to respond to. But some of these features are also something that sales teams can exploit. But with deliberate unpredictability sitting on the other side of the table, you have to expect the unexpected. To understand the pitfalls, let's relive 7 C-suite meetings, each one of which results in a train wreck. Train wreck number 1. After months of being blocked by a gatekeeper, sales rep gets direct COO contact. Rep books COO meeting without keeping gatekeeper in the loop. Rep shows up and sits in the lobby. 50 minutes after scheduled meeting start time, the gatekeeper shows up. Alone. Train wreck. Number 2, the opportunity is a complex business process application software for a new account. Sales rep gets CFO meeting. Sales rep flies solo, no pre-sales help. Now, this may happen as a deliberate lone wolf rep choice. Some reps have egos and habits. I don't need anyone riding shotgun. And sometimes it's a rational rep response to the talent around them. The rep just doesn't trust pre-sales in a tough meeting. But then sometimes sales reps fly solo whether they want to or not as a matter of sales process design. Pre-sales people are expensive, and an account may have to get to a certain point of the funnel before a pre-sales resource is assigned. Regardless of the reason, there's no one on the technical team, at least in this meeting. CFO walks into the meeting with extensive experience in that specific business process application. First question out of the CFO's mouth is, as far as the rep is concerned, in technobabble. Train wreck. Some B2B slide stories you could almost do in Dilbert comics. Rep, after long nurturing, books CEO for big meeting. Sales engineer accepts. Rep and sales engineer meet for the first time ever in the lobby. They talk for 30 seconds. Sales engineer, once they're in the meeting, takes the initiative, pulling out a beautiful PowerPoint deck and pitches a different solution from the one in discussion with the CEO. This one's very avoidable, but we've all seen the subtler variations here. Pre-sales going into a meeting, covering old ground and annoying their audience. Sales not preparing pre-sales for what the client wants. The list goes on. Good product managers and sales engineers love their products, and that has significant downside. Sales rep gets meeting with CFO. Rep includes customer-facing product manager in meeting. Product manager launches into a virtuoso presentation of products, features, and technical specs. CFO rolls eyes. Why would I even think about this? Looks at mobile device, walks out. The product manager here whiffed on being customer-centric. The product manager failed to connect. Number 5. Sales rep gets meeting with COO. Rep includes pre-sales. Pre-sales launches into presentation, not pausing, not drawing comments, not soliciting questions, not drawing a breath. A linear, rapid-fire, autopilot, PowerPoint presentation. COO manages to interrupt anyhow with a question. Pre-sales, hold that for a few minutes. I have a slide. COO looks at mobile device, walks out. Number 6. Sales rep gets customer team meeting with CFO. Rep comes in with technical team. Team starts to present. 5 minutes in, CFO stops and says, so, wait a minute, bottom line, what's the effect of this on EBIT? Technical team stumbles, fumbles, looks at each other and says, well, we'll get back to you on that. You may get a meeting with the C-suite, but middle management will always insert themselves. And when they do, it can be somewhere between self-preservation and trying to score points. So train wreck number 7. Sales rep gets meeting with CEO and team. Sales and pre-sales do formal detailed PowerPoint presentation. Geek in the corner starts to ask technical questions. She challenges assumptions. She gets into the weeds. The conversation goes everywhere and upside down. Everyone is confused. Befuddled, the CEO fidgets, looks at mobile device, train wreck. There's a pattern here. There are 3 missing elements, 3 capabilities that need to be developed. There's skills, content, and teamwork. Let's start with skills. There's a lot of great content, and there are a lot of great trainers and practitioners. But in any skills training, you really need to use your success. Celebrate it. Recognize it. Reward it. Real success experiences motivate and prepare your team. That said, standalone training is never enough. It can get too complex. It can be expensive, both in time and money. It can be ineffective and not persist in terms of rep habits or not be adopted. So it's really important that the right tools are used together with the skills training, that those tools are useful and embraced by sales, and that those tools include some cues and some helps on what you say at the moment of truth. Which brings us to content. Think again about your audience, their interest and outcomes, their limited bandwidth and time. The executive's trying to reach a decision in the meeting if possible, even if that's a decision to test and to delegate, not to buy. If you can't keep it simple and clear, you have a problem. I'm not sure how many CFOs and CEOs Albert Einstein called on, but no one could have said it more clearly than he did. You need to prepare content that's customer-centric and that answers the single most likely C-suite question. What is the bottom line impact? Value propositions do that. They highlight the headline total value to customer. They point to the 2 or 3 most important ways your product is better and what that's worth to the customer. Finally, we come to dealing with deliberate unpredictability. Linear PowerPoint presentations are scalable, but they're so 90s and so inflexible. Smart tools let you deal with C-suite randomness, pointing and clicking based on the questions on their minds, addressing their concerns, and adjusting to what they've said earlier in the meeting. That flexibility can turn a one-way droning presentation into a customer conversation. Teamwork. Marketing and sales alignment is a huge theme. But sales and pre-sales alignment is just as important. For complex products, pre-sales and technical sales are critical to the sales process. A study by a McKinsey team published in the Harvard Business Review found that the payoffs from augmenting pre-sales are a 5-point improvement in conversion rates, a 6 to 13% improvement in revenue, and a 10 to 20% improvement in the speed of moving prospects through the sales process. Sales is a team sport, but like any team, you'll have diverse skills, diverse experiences, and diverse temperaments. For any team, a good clubhouse matters. You have to realize that sales doesn't necessarily understand pre-sales, and that team tensions are bound to be there. Here's our typical rep on the left with some typical thoughts. Pre-sales just provides too much information. Too complicated. The customer's eyes are glazing over. They're not listening. They're not going where the customer wants to go. Geez, where did they get their interpersonal talents? They just don't know how to manage a meeting. And we get to the end of this one-way presentation, stunned silence in the end, and there's no positioning for any kind of post-call follow-up. The shoe's on the other foot in terms of pre-sales not necessarily understanding sales. Here's some sample thoughts. I can't believe that rep had me go to that meeting. That account just isn't ready yet. Boy, that rep really just didn't position it at all. The customer had no idea what we were coming in to pitch. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I had no clue what the background with this account was. And the most famous one of all for all sales reps, overpromising. Finally, pre-sales people really like to get themselves in a position as being the trusted counterpart for customers, and that in turn reflects on the way they view their sales reps. Shared value propositions between sales and pre-sales are a powerful tool for teams playing in the C-suite. They provide clear, simple messaging, consistent meeting prep, and consistent messaging. They're customer-centric, not product-centric. They're results-focused. They get to a bottom line. And they can help to develop customer collaboration and build trust. They're about a conversation and a continued refinement and tailoring of a value message to the specifics of the customer. That means value propositions can help build a winning clubhouse. For many great organizations, shared value propositions are a way to mobilize. They're a way to make success scalable. We may not be on a nationwide commercial anytime soon, but selling to the C-suite works. So thanks very much for your time and attention. Taylor?
Great. Thank you, Peyton, for those great insights. We've had a few questions come in during the webinar, and there's still time to enter your questions into the panel on your screen. While you're entering, a reminder to complete the 10-second survey while exiting today's webinar to receive a free copy of Irresistible Value Propositions and to have the opportunity to receive a copy of Amp Up Your Sales. Now for Q&A and a brief word about LeveragePoint, I am pleased to introduce LeveragePoint's President and CMO, Dick Orlando. Dick drives a lot of LeveragePoint sales training and leads much of the dialogue with sales leaders. Welcome, Dick.
Thank you, Taylor. As Taylor said, I probably have the most fun job in the place. I get to spend a lot of time with sales leaders and people in the field who face C-suite meetings and discussions all the time. And when I present to a large group of sales leaders or sales reps, I always start with this Forrester presentation or study. Forrester says that they really have very few meetings that end up well with salespeople. And the best part of the meeting is they say the sales reps really are very knowledgeable about their products and their company. This is, I think, a testament to the sales training and the hard work that the sales reps do. However, going back to Peyton's presentation, they have very low grades. 1 out of 5 people say the sales rep just doesn't understand my issues and where they can help. I call this the 30-second moment that the sales reps have to establish their credibility with C-suite relative is, do they really understand my business? This is a great quote that I saw recently from one of the best training organizations out there called Richardson Training. And it said, when you're speaking to the C-suite, please make sure you're prepared. Show the C-suite executive how much you value his or her time by doing your homework. By homework, I mean, and Richardson means, spend some time on learning a little bit about the company, what they do, etc. Let me know you know about my industry. And come to the meeting prepared to initiate a dialogue worth having. If a person from the C-suite is attending the meeting, that to me is very important, and you should be able to respect their time. So when I'm asked this question, when I deal with sales leaders and sales reps, they're not bashful. They ask me pretty direct questions. So how can I get their attention in 30 seconds and continue this conversation? Because very, very little time, a very small percentage of the time by salespeople is spent in front of C-suite. So it tends to be, like Peyton said, either a train wreck or it's a terrific mobilizer to get other people that see the C-level endorsement moving in the direction, improving the, reducing the sales cycle, and most important, differentiating you versus the competition. So here are the 3 things that I always say to the audiences that I present to. Number 1, are you prepared to speak with me about my business? We've talked about this several times with Peyton and myself, but this is so important in that 30-second window that the C-level person says, they understand my business. Second, I want to know from you, what are the 3 things your customers in my industry are doing with your offering to improve their business? And the number 3 is important here. We all can say 1, we all can say 10, but the 3 is, even if the CEO or the C-suite person agrees with 1, you have had a good meeting. The last, can you share a relevant example with me about the results your successful customers are achieving? This to me is really important, and this is the swing question whether the CEO or the CFO is going to endorse you into their organization. This is a value proposition which Peyton spoke about in his presentation. I just want to take a minute or so here to show you what this is. This is a cloud-based value proposition that we call a master value proposition. So think that you're Aventis, which is up in the left-hand corner, and you have a meeting with the C-suite, and you want to talk about, this is a typical customer, fictitious customer that we have and what we show them. You have everything, your sales rep has everything they need here to have a meaningful conversation to answer the 3 questions. At the top, on your right side there, is the value to the customer. We're here to show you that our average customer saves about $280,000, or the value to the customer is $280,000. On the left are graphs that will also show you how you calculated those numbers. And in this particular one is in the green, energy, downtime, and maintenance cost reductions are going to be the focal points of what our offering will provide you. The second layer of 4 white boxes are the assumptions that were made to come up with these numbers. And the 3 points that I want to discuss with you is how we can save you significant costs in energy, downtime, and maintenance. And by the way, we'll also show you a total cost of ownership. And at the bottom, it's for people who want to get into a little bit more detail. And this is so important to the marketing people. What collateral do you bring to a manufacturer to sell our BTR system? And all of your best collateral is put in to these tabs here, and these are all customizable, whether it be a video, whether it be a case study, and it proves how people are actually doing this. And we call this a smart value proposition because if you look at the middle there, which is facility size, equipment life, etc., the dark numbers can be changed by the sales rep or pre-sales rep to create now different numbers on the top 2 boxes and different graphs there. But more important than that is now the customer is engaged. Now you're creating a unique customer value proposition, which will be carried on throughout the entire sales cycle. And the pre-sales people really like the summary tabs of energy, downtime, and maintenance, because when they click on those, then they can actually pull out pie charts that show in detail to the technical people how we calculated these numbers. By the way, if your numbers change, we can then change them as well. So with that, I thought I'd end with, this is what some of our successful customers are saying. Number 1 is a new account, which makes up a vast majority of the salespeople. They use value propositions to prepare themselves before going into a call, either verbally or they present a PowerPoint slide that shows the value proposition, or in many cases, the digital value proposition works extremely well. In the second case, it's for that veteran sales rep who has the largest accounts in the company, and they want to move their platform into other divisions, but they always end up going through the CEO or the C-suite. And you're trying to create value here, and with the value propositions, they're saying the C-suite now talks more about the value we're bringing to them versus pricing. And just as important, when the pre-sales person has to get into the real details of proving the solution, they always have to get back to the business solution. So the pre-sales people say, I really like Leverage Point because they translate technical features into a business case. And these are 3 examples of that. We have thousands and thousands of salespeople and pre-sales people who are getting these business benefits and improving their qualified prospects in this age of digital transformation that we're all going through. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dick. And if you're interested in scheduling a personalized 15-minute demo of Leverage Point's value proposition tool, you can do so by selecting the appropriate box within the exit survey. Okay, I see we have some great questions so far, and to answer the most popular one myself, yes, the webinar is recorded, and the slides and recording will be sent to you within 2 business days via email. So for the first question, is it appropriate to jump right into a business conversation in a C-suite meeting?
Yes. An executive wants to know where the conversation's going. A CEO or a CFO wants to understand very quickly what the conversation's about. Now that doesn't say and doesn't argue for a 5-minute soliloquy on numbers and transmission, but getting at the summary headlines before you get into the conversation and start to understand some of the product elements is very important.
Great, thank you. And where is a value proposition useful in the sales cycle?
This is Dick. Where value proposition is useful is primarily when you have at least strong influencers or recommenders there, where you want to get your business case across pretty quick. See, the best thing about sales is when you're able to control the sales process, where you differentiate yourself versus the competition. At least in today, in 2016, I would guess that 95% of the people on this call that present to customers, and certainly people that I see, start off with a PowerPoint presentation. I just went through this with a vendor in selecting a solution for leverage point. And the person who stands up and says, here are the benefits that our customers are receiving that are in your industry, and let me walk through the business benefits. Differentiate yourself. So do it as early on in the sales process as you can, so you can get a tremendous leg up on the competition.
As an experienced pre-sales person, I would say, again, earlier when pre-sales is involved is good. The last thing you want to do is wait till the negotiation to make the business case. And so pre-sales people, once they're involved in an account, are really naturally drawn from the technical features of their products into what makes them different and then what that's worth. So pre-sales people are ready to get not just at the headlines, but get into the weeds. And a good pre-sales person will use the value proposition in a big meeting, not as a way to draw the whole meeting into the weeds, but to take that person in the corner who's asking the tough questions, steer that conversation offline, build that into individual trust with the geek or the evaluator, again, as a way to consensus and build customer understanding and move the deal forward.
Great, thank you both. And next question, where is the best place to start in the sales team?
The best place to start is really with the majority, where the majority of your salespeople are, and that's what I call the middle of the sales force. About 60 to 80% of your salespeople are in this middle of the sales force versus the 10% that handle the largest accounts and maybe the 10% who are just entry-level salespeople. And this is good, by the way, for both inside and field salespeople. And the reason I say the middle is they make the most sales calls, they make the more new account sales calls, and there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of sales calls made every day. And pre-sales resources are not as readily available in the middle of sales force as they would be, say, for the large account salespeople. So getting very strong, qualified sales opportunities into the pipeline is so critical for the middle of the sales force. And that's where I say you should really start. That's why I tell all the people that I present to, start with the up and down the street salespeople who are really not only your new account sales reps, but really the future large account sales reps as well.
And to layer in another element, if your large account, if your strategic account reps are too busy and have plenty of leverage, which they usually do, it's then very natural for them to use pre-sales leverage. And pre-sales people often take to value propositions very naturally. So think about their ability to connect technical features to business case to quantify value.
Great, thank you. And next question, what products should you start with?
Oh, well, that's a great question. It's always important to pick something that's strategically important. If you really want to draw people's attention and get them into value and get them talking value, it's best to start with the parts of your business that matter. So start strategically important, and clearly you need to start with something that's differentiated, because the best value propositions and the strongest value propositions are those associated with differentiated product. The result of picking differentiated, strategically important products is by drawing it to a value proposition, you're getting consistent messaging. And by getting something strategically important, your aim is to have early success, an early success that you can transmit to the rest of the organization. That's what helps value go viral.
This is a very important point that I always end up bringing up to sales leaders. And I ask them, I say, when you get a sales rep that tells you that they have a meeting with C-suite and you can't attend, or a chief recommender, what would you do if you were in that meeting? And how do you get your sales rep to do something similar to that? And I even go so far as to say, what would the CEO say if your CEO was into that meeting? The beauty of this master value proposition is a couple of things. One, you don't need exact data to go in and present that. Okay? Two, is you're showing the customer that you have a different way of looking at the business by putting a master value proposition up that screams, I know your business and I have customers that have been successful in that business. Three, it's what I call a trial close. And the trial close is when the customer says, oh, I don't have that many whatever. Can you change the number? That's a trial close that says, I'm engaged. So that's the value of the master value proposition.
Great, thank you both. And it looks like we have no more questions left for today's webinar. If you happen to think of one and you'd like to reach out to Peyton or Dick, please look at the screen and they have their emails provided there. And with that, we want to thank you for joining us today, and from everyone here at Leverage Point, we wish you a great day. Thank you.